Is nationwide pet insurance eliminating your guinea pigs plan? Hey, it's Scotty. Let's talk about it right now. So I am an admin for the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue Facebook group. It's called Weakers. And someone posted in there that they were upset that it seemed like they weren't going to be able to get coverage for their guinea pigs anymore. And that sent a shockwave, a ripple through the group, and it really kind of upset me and got me curious. So I got on the phone with Nationwide to find out the truth. My piggies are insured through Nationwide, and I recommend it to everyone. If you've been a longtime viewer of this channel, then you know I've done many videos about Nationwide, how it works, the merits of it. And the policies do change over time. That's just the nature of things. So let's get into what is going on at Nationwide and how is it going to affect you, your guinea pigs, the coverage you already have, or the coverage that you might have. Now, I've got some notes right here because the good thing about this, first off, let me alleviate your fears. No, let's say it like this. Yes, your guinea pig's plan may be ending or phasing out, but there are new plans, new options. Currently, guinea pigs are covered under what's called the whole pet plan. And generally speaking, like for my pigs, what that currently is roughly a $250 deductible, and you have two choices of how much coverage you get. Now, if you're not familiar with how insurance works, with guinea pigs, you go to the vet, you pay for it, you send the invoice to Nationwide Insurance. I use the app, and I have my account linked, my bank account linked, and so I upload the invoice, the bill from my vet, and they reimburse me the appropriate amount. Now, you currently had two choices of coverage, either a 50% reimbursement or a 70% reimbursement, and the deductible is $250. So what that means is the first $250 comes out of pocket. After that, they will reimburse you. Nationwide will reimburse 50% or 70% of your entire bill, and that was up to $10,000. Now, for the 50% one, I think I was paying around $200 a year, and for the 70% one, I think it was about $250. So what that means is you pay your $200 or your $250. That's how much the policy costs. And then after that, you'd have to pay the $250 deductible, right? So you're basically in for about $400 or $500 before you get any reimbursement. Now, you can also pay monthly. If you pay yearly, you can get a discount. But if you pay monthly, it can be around $20 a month or so. So you pay your monthly $20 a month, or you pay up front, and then you go to the vet for the first time with your guinea pig, you will have to pay for the first $250. But after that, depending on whether you've chosen 50% or 70%, you would be reimbursed that amount for everything. Now, they don't do just checkups, but any illness, any injury or accident, anything, they would just cover up to $10,000 per year. So that's what it was. Now, here's what it is. So now it is called the customized coverage plan. So here's how it works. You can now choose, instead of a deductible, just like with your car insurance, just like with other insurances, the more you pay in your deductible, the cheaper your coverage is. So I will go over the different options we have, and then I'll go over some different breakdowns of, if you were to choose certain things, how much would your monthly bill be. So just hang with me. We're going to learn a lot. So you now have a choice of the $250, which is what it used to be, or you can choose $500 or $1,000. Now what that means is If you choose the $500 deductible, it means the first $500 comes out of your pocket, but your insurance premium will be a lot cheaper for the year. You can also do that for $1,000. Now, the reason, why would you do this? Why would you want to pay more out of pocket in order to get insurance? Well, in a situation just like with a car accident or something, what you're trying to prevent yourself from going bankrupt, from being totally destroyed by an unforeseen bill that is out of control. So if your deductible is $1,000, the first $1,000 you would pay, but after that, they would cover everything and your premium would be very inexpensive. So your deductible choices, $250, $500, or $1,000. Okay? Now, the percentage of coverage used to be 50% or 70%. Now you can choose between 50%, 60%, 70%, or 80% coverage. So what does that mean? That means that after your deductible of what you choose, after you pay that, everything else for the year, you can get up to 50% back on all of your vet bills for that piggy. 50%, 60%, 70%, or 80%. So we'll do some hypotheticals, but let's just say your bill was $1,200, to make the math easy. Let's say your bill was $1,250 and you had a deductible of $250 and 80% coverage. Okay? Because the bill is $1,250, right? The first $250 you would have out of pocket. After that $1,000, you would get 80% back. So you would get $800 back of that $1,000, of that $1,250 bill after you've paid the first $250. It can get a little swimmy in your head if you're not good with numbers like me, but it's still pretty simple. Okay? So you can choose $250 deductible, $500, or $1,000. Your percentage of coverage can be 50, 60, 70, or 80% coverage. Okay? Now, a big change is that it used to be $10,000 a year. You'd be covered up to $10,000 per year once you paid your deductible. It is now $6,000 per year, but it is split between two $3,000 chunks, and those are accidents and illness. So if your guinea pig falls, break their leg, that goes under accidents. Now, accidents you must get. That's part of it. Illness, you can choose to get that or not. So so if you choose only accidents but not illnesses, your coverage will cost less. I would definitely, that's a no-brainer. I would choose accidents and illness because, let's face it, we are here to prevent accidents. Now, accidents sometimes happen, but we do everything in our power to prevent unnecessary disasters, accidents from happening. We think ahead to mitigate accidents. Okay? But since accidents are required, that is part of the coverage. You get $3,000 per year of accident coverage. Okay? Then you also get, or you can choose to add on, and I would just always choose to add the $3,000 illness coverage. So where it used to be $10,000 for everything, now it's $3,000 for illness only. But to be honest, I have not spent more. I have not needed more than $3,000 worth of insurance per year on my piggies, and still have saved a lot of money. So we're talking in a situation where you would have to pay a $250 deductible, but you get up to $3,000 worth of coverage per year. That's still quite a substantial amount of coverage and can save you in an emergency from really depleting your emergency resources, going into debt. So that's the new amount that you can choose. But you can also choose less. So if you want a lower premium, you can actually choose coverage of $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, and $3,000. I would just go for the max coverage, but you can choose to just $1,500. What I would say that you do is you look year over year and you say, well, how much have I actually spent? And you adjust it to that, because that will really reduce your premiums, which is the whole goal in this customized coverage plan, is getting your premiums really low, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so if you have more than 2 guinea pigs covered, you will save 5% on your plans. If you have more than 4 guinea pigs, you will save 10%. It's called the Multipet discount. The average plan that I have for my guinea pigs now, on about 50% coverage with a $250 deductible, the average plan costs about $200 on the old plan. And some of my piggies that had the 70% coverage, now it depended on what my financial situation was, who had more and who had less. I wanted my older piggies to have more coverage, because you can change it year after year. So at the most, I was paying around $250 for 70% coverage, and at the least, I was paying around $200 for the 50% coverage. Now remember, that still means that after you pay your deductible, you're getting reimbursed half of everything that you spend at the vet. That's not nothing, you know? So, but now, so since bison is new, I said, let's find out under this new plan, how much would it cost for bison for this year? So if I wanted, now you can choose to mix and match and what they call customize your coverage to whatever you think you need. So for bison, if I wanted 80%, the maximum coverage, and I wanted that deductible to be $250, which is the lowest deductible, right? So I pay the least amount before it starts paying me back, right? And I'm going for the maximum coverage of 3,000 accident and 3,000 illness, okay? So because of the multi-pet discount and paying up front, if you pay up front, you save about $24 a month. So that plan, this new plan, would cost $108.60, as opposed to my other piggies. For 80% coverage, they are costing $250, right? So that is almost $150 cheaper than it was last year. And you have to ask yourself, did you spend all $10,000? Did you get all $10,000 worth of your coverage? Because in most cases, God forbid, your vet bills run up, wouldn't run up more than a couple $1,000s. There are some situations where you will have catastrophic bills, and the insurance is just supposed to save you, okay? So if this was last year and I was insuring bison to get basically the same amount of coverage, now yes, there's $6,000 worth of coverage instead of $10,000, and of that coverage, only $3,000 can be illness and $3,000 can be accident, but still, the chances of me getting that much, because at 80% coverage, they would reimburse me $3,000. So that means that I'd be actually closer to $4,000 worth of bills, and they would reimburse me up to $3,000 of that. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. So then I asked the representative on the phone, and that's what you need to do if you want to know exactly how much it's going to be. So the younger your guinea pig is, the cheaper your premium will be. The older they are, generally, the more expensive they will be. That's how life insurance works. That's how a lot of different insurance can work. How much for a 2-year-old guinea pig with, let's go up to a $500 deductible. So basically, I'd have to pay the first $500 out of pocket, and then I'm going to say 50% reimbursement. So after that first $500, so suppose I had a massive bill for $1,500, right? The first $500 comes out of my pocket, and then that last $1,000, I'll get $500 back. Okay? So that plan would cost, if I pay up front annually, $87.13. $87 for 50% coverage. Okay? Now, suppose I do the same thing, but my deductible is only $250. That means in that scenario where my bill is $1,500, the first $250 I get back. Okay, now I'm gonna have to do some math, and then I'll get not only 50% of that last 1,000, but 50% of that 250. So I'd actually get 500. What's 175? So I would get $675 back out of that bill. So $113 a year. So we're talking the difference between getting a $250 deductible and a $500 deductible, $87 versus $113. I really hope this makes sense. I've been doing this for a while when it comes to getting plans of insurance for my piggies. But when I'm on the phone with my car insurance company, when I'm on the phone with whatever, homeowners insurance or who knows what, and they start talking about deductible and this and that, my mind goes blank. I start hearing elevator music in my brain, and I'm just like, I don't understand. Okay, but so that's why I would urge you to call and find out how much it's actually going to cost you. After I get some coverage kicked in, I'll do a more concise video about this with actual real world numbers. But the bottom line is, for pretty much the same coverage, this new plan will cost you about half as much. And unless you have like massive $10,000 bills, you will be covered just as well as you have been in the past with the old plan, with these new plans. So for people who pet insurance was completely out of reach, think about it. $100 a year. We're talking, less than $10 a month for insurance, 80% reimbursement. Now that's for Bison, and he's a young piggy, so it may cost a little bit more for your senior piggies. That's why you got to call them. So the number to call them is 1-866-880-4717, or you can just go to petinsurance.com. Now, I have no affiliation with Nationwide, other than the fact that I use them, that when I started volunteering at the Los Angeles Guinea Pig Rescue many, many years ago, we all were recommending them. Saskia has her personal piggies insured. I tell everybody when I'm facilitating adoptions at the LA Guinea Pig Rescue, look into it. It can really save you. Now, some people say, instead of getting insurance, I'm just going to save some money in my emergency fund. You have to figure out what works best for you, whether you just want to save some money in an emergency fund or let it ride on a credit card. But cost of vet care should never be a reason why you don't get pet care, especially when your piggies are not feeling well. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised. And I asked point blank, I said, is there any state where people cannot get coverage? They said no. This plan applies all 50 states in the U.S. Now, for all of you guys overseas, I'm sorry, but let me know, because there are plenty of places in different countries that have pet insurance for guinea pigs. So you could put that in the comments, let me know. But I hope that this made sense. In the comments, you could also let me know, was I very confusing, or did this help? I did not expect this video to be so long, but when we're talking about insurance, especially a customizable plan like this where there's so many different options, you can choose how much your deductible, you can choose how much percentage of coverage you want, you can choose the amount of coverage total that you can get, right? There's discounts for multiple pets. There is a discount for paying for the whole year in advance. Okay, so there's a lot of different moving parts which there weren't available with the previous plans. So I think that this overall is a good thing. I really urge you to call your representative. You just call them, and you'll speak to a representative, and they can go over this. Now, I asked if I could do this, if you could do these, mock-ups online for guinea pigs. You got to call them, and you got to reach out to them, and they will figure out a plan for you, and they can even send it to you via email after you talk to somebody. So I hope that wasn't too confusing. It is insurance, and it's not necessarily something that's easily understood, but I hope I was able to break it down in a way that makes it a little less confusing. I will keep trying to boil it down. I would love to have a 5-minute video about pet insurance. So maybe we'll get there instead of a 20-minute video. All right, until next time, thanks for watching.